So we have this horse here. He is about an 8-year-old quarter horse gelding, and he came in and he had kind of an abnormal cough that we had not heard before from him. And then we noticed that he had some discharge from his nose. And then we noticed he kept coughing, and it was more of a gargle. Maybe hard to hear on this video, but he does have kind of a gargly roar. And this is all very, very classic signs of a horse that is choking. So we are waiting for the vet to arrive. He's probably been choking now for 15 minutes, and you can see the remnants of that. So basically he's not able to swallow any of his saliva because there is food stuck in that passage. So then it comes out his nasal cavity there. Poor guy. So this is definitely an emergent situation. This is evening, and we called the emergency vet, and they are on their way. They'll probably be here in about another 10 minutes. But this is definitely a situation where you should call the vet, and they are going to have to relieve him of this. So we just removed the horse from his stall so he couldn't continue to ingest any more food particles that could get further lodged in his throat, and he could have more things to choke on. So it's pretty common for a horse to kind of panic in this situation. As you can imagine, like, it's pretty scary to not be able to swallow or breathe. I'll attach another little video to this where you can see him right when we first pulled him out of his stall. And if we keep, there you go, you can see he's kind of gagging, and that gag reflex is telling him that just trying to remove it from his throat. But in the other video that I'll include, you can see these muscles trying to do their job. Now, if you know a little bit about the anatomy of a horse, you know that they have very strong sphincters, unlike, let's say, humans, where we can vomit fairly easily, and horses cannot do that. So this is a fairly unique situation. You can see all the stress manifesting in sweat from him. But we got the vet on the way, buddy. He's coming. We'll return once the vet's here. Look at you girls, your work is done. All right, but I need some cute little helpers. The work is not done. You want to start? Here, Lisa, help you reach. And Eleanor? And I'll be in there. So once the vet arrived to save the day, the first thing after the initial evaluation and determining that the horse was indeed choking like we had thought, was to pass an NG tube. So an NG tube, first of all, should only ever be passed by a trained professional. It is a tube that is going to go through the horse's nostril and down into their stomach. If someone were to do that incorrectly, the tube could go to the lungs. At some point later on, you'll see that we are going to pass fluids through that tube, and you could imagine if fluids were put into the lungs, you could have a life-threatening situation. So my point is, don't try this at home, folks, all right? So the vet passed an NG tube. Upon initial attempt, Ryder said, no way. So he did have to receive some sedation. So although horses know that they are in distress, they may not realize that you're trying to help them. So he did not want to get that NG tube passed. It can be quite uncomfortable. So he got a little sedation so that he was more comfortable, and that NG tube got passed. Typically when you are passing that tube that's going through the nose into the stomach, you're going to approach that blockage that's causing the horse to choke. And so then the vet worked over a period of time, probably over 25 minutes or so, working on hopefully trying to get that bolus of food matter out through the end of the NG tube or pushed into the stomach. So Just kind of depended where it was at and how fluid it was and that sort of thing. So the vet added some fluid, also tried to work to create a suction to try to get that bolus out, and eventually was successful. All right, what you're seeing here in this clip is the vet was successful in removing the blockage. And now, before removing the NG tube, the vet is passing some fluids into the horse's stomach through that NG tube just to give them a bit more hydration, especially as over the next little bit the horse may be still sedated or uncomfortable and not want to ingest as much water or food. So gonna just pass that water right through the NG tube into the stomach. All right, you'll see here the vet has removed the NG tube from Ryder, and you can see what was causing him to choke this whole time.
Look who we have here, a healthy Ryder. So we are happy to report that Ryder has overcome his strange bout of choke. It appears that it was just kind of a fluke. So his teeth are great, he was chewing good. He hadn't even had his grain yet, and typically it's more common that horses choke on grain than they do on hay or grass. And as you saw in the last clip, it was definitely hay or grass or something super gross and green. It's about 10 days since he first showed those signs to us, and he has since, there were a few days where he only got partial feed, and his hay was soaked and some things like that. But other than that, he's back to his normal self. He can eat normal amounts. Let's take him to his stall. I want you to follow me, and I'll show you one other quick thing that we did that was really an easy adjustment to help slow him down, because he is a really fast eater, because he's a very food motivated guy. So come with me. Where it's easier to see. So all of our horses have corner feeders where they get their grain and concentrates. So in his, we just added this large rock, certainly not something any size that he could ingest, but what it does, the same thing works for dogs too, or any kind of animal like that you want to slow down their eating, is he just kind of has to fish around it for his grain, and it slows down a little bit. So we did add that to his corner feeder. Other than that, he's totally back to normal. We are happy to share that with you.
Thank you for joining Fabus Farms Horse Classroom. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us the like button, as well as subscribe to our channel for more videos.